Hello everyone. It's great to see you again in today's video. In the morning, in the small kitchen filled with gentle light, Jack sat attentively next to Tu Tien. In his hand was a small bottle of medicine. He carefully applied the medicine to the wound on her forehead, as if afraid of causing her even a little more pain. His breathing was slow, his attentive eyes filled with worry and love. Tu Tien gently bowed her head, feeling the warmth from Jack's every gesture. She pursed her lips and looked at him, her eyes shining with emotion and reassurance. After applying the medicine, Jack gently put the bottle of medicine aside, and then turned to look at Tu Tien with eyes full of concern. There was a glass of milk still steaming warm on the table. He gently pushed the glass towards her and said in a gentle voice, "Drink up this glass of milk. I made it a while ago waiting for you to wake up. Remember to take your medicine after drinking it to get better soon." Tu Tien looked down at the glass of milk. The corners of her lips curved into a small smile. She used a spoon to stir it gently, her eyes shining with the warmth of being cared for. Jack was still sitting next to her, his eyes following her every move, as if afraid she was tired or uncomfortable. He also carefully opened the medicine box, placed it next to her to remind her not to forget. Then Jack suddenly remembered. He took out Tu Tien's phone from his pocket and put it on the table for her and said, "This is your phone. I left it here. If anything happens at home, remember to call me right away. I have to go to work at the company today. I'm afraid you'll be sad at home alone." Tu Tien smiled and told Jack to rest assured that she would stay home and wait for him to come home. Jack smiled and said, "Then I'll stay home and wait for you. When you come home from work in the afternoon, I'll take you to the farm to play." Hearing that, Tu Tien immediately nodded in agreement. After instructing Tu Tien, Jack gently reached down to rub Tu Tien's belly and whispered, "Stay home with Mommy? Be good. Don't bother Mommy and make her tired. Okay. So Daddy can go to work with peace of mind. Okay?" Seeing Jack act like that, Tu Tien immediately laughed and said that the two of them would be good at home and wait for Dad to come home. The whole small kitchen became even more peaceful because of those thoughtful gestures. In that simple moment, love and care quietly spread, making Tu Tien feel so lucky to have Jack by her side. Little by little, taking care of her with all her heart. After instructing everything, Jack stood up with peace of mind, took the medicine box to put it away, then went to the room to change clothes to prepare for work. Tu Tien was sitting drinking a glass of milk when Jack's mother came in and asked Tu Tien if she slept well last night. Tu Tien smiled and replied that she slept very well and that Jack had made her some milk to drink this morning. Jack's mother said that she had to go out today and wanted to invite her along because she was afraid that Tu Tien would be sad if she stayed home alone. Tu Tien happily said that she wanted to stay home and rest. "Uncle, don't worry about your work. You don't have to worry about me." While the two were talking, Jack's voice rang out, saying goodbye to Tu Tien so he could go to work. The two of them went down to the living room. Jack was sitting drinking a glass of water, getting ready to go to work. Jack's mother and Tu Tien sat down next to him. Jack's mother said that she had to go out today and wanted to invite Tu Tien to go with her for fun, but the girl said she wanted to stay home. Jack heard his mother say that, so he immediately told Tu Tien to go with his mother to relieve her boredom. He was worried about her being home alone because she was still not fully recovered. Tu Tien smiled and told Jack to rest assured that she could stay home alone, and she would stay home to wait for him to come home. Jack raised his hand to look at the clock and saw that it was late. He had to go to the company. He told Tu Tien to stay home and if anything happened, call him immediately. After saying that, Jack stood up and went to work. Tu Tien and his mother watched his back as he left. His mother happily said that since Jack knew he was going to be a father, he had always been smiling. Then she turned to Tu Tien and said if she didn't want to go with her uncle, she should stay home and rest. Don't do anything. Okay? Just leave the housework to me. Seeing Jack's mother care for her like that, Tu Tien felt very happy and obediently said, "Uncle, you should go to work. I'll just stay home and rest." After saying that, she also stood up, took her bag and went out, leaving Tu Tien at home. When Jack's mother had just left the house, Tu Tien's hands and feet were also restless. She stood up to clean the table, cups and glasses. Then she took a rag to wipe all the tables and chairs. Tu Tien meticulously cleaned every corner of the living room. She bent down slightly, holding a soft cloth to wipe off the thin layer of dust on the large wooden vase placed against the wall. The scent of new wood mixed with the faint scent of flowers in the air made the room warm and comfortable. After cleaning the living room, Tu Tien put the cloth in the basin of water and gently walked up to the small kitchen upstairs. She meticulously cleaned the dining table, then moved to the sink. Each movement was slow and careful. When she turned around, her eyes stopped on the taro tubers placed neatly on the table. A stream of memories suddenly flashed in her mind. The image of the sweet, hot taro cakes she had made. Without thinking any further, Tu Tien opened the refrigerator, took out flour, sugar and a few other ingredients to prepare for making the cake. She carefully took out a piece of fresh meat, washed it, then placed it on the cutting board, holding a knife and cutting it into thin, neat and easy-to-eat slices. When she was done, she put everything in a small box and set it aside. Next, Tu Tien took the basket of taro on the table, gently peeled off the rough skin, washed it, and let it drain. She cut the taro into small, bite-sized pieces, then put everything in with the meat she had just prepared. The smell of fresh taro mixed with the scent of raw meat created a familiar feeling, making her feel a little excited, as if she was about to make a dish she once loved very much. When all the ingredients were ready, Tu Tien pulled up a chair and sat down at the kitchen table. She took out a bowl of fine white flour, added a little warm water and started kneading the cakes. Her hands skillfully rotated each piece of dough, kneading until they became smooth and soft. Then, she broke off small pieces, rolled them into balls and flattened them, and put the pre-mixed meat and taro filling in the middle. Each cake was carefully wrapped by Tu Tien, round and even, looking extremely attractive. The cakes that Tu Tien had finished shaping were neatly arranged on the tray, round and even like small pearls. Tu Tien stood up and carried the tray of cakes to the side of the gas stove. She turned on the stove, placed the pan on it, and poured in a sufficient amount of oil. When the oil started to boil, Tu Tien gently dropped each cake in. The sizzling sound was pleasant to the ears, and the rich aroma gradually spread throughout the kitchen. She carefully used chopsticks to flip the cakes until both sides were golden brown, her eyes following each cake as it turned a golden brown color. When the cakes were golden brown, the crispy crusts gave off a rich aroma throughout the kitchen. Tu Tien skillfully used chopsticks to pick each cake up onto a plate. She placed them neatly on the wire tray, the oil steam still rising, looking extremely attractive. After finishing, she put the cake plate on the table to cool down, then stood still and looked at her work with a look of satisfaction. In that moment, Tu Tien immediately reached for her phone, adjusted the angle beautifully, and took a few pictures. Looking at the screen, she smiled slightly, her heart filled with joy, simply wanting to send it to Jack to show off that she had made a delicious cake today. After taking the satisfactory photos, Tu Tien put down her phone, tidied up the kitchen, and washed her hands. Then Tu Tien went downstairs to the living room. She sat down, leaned back on the chair and looked outside, waiting for Jack to come home from work. She smiled, imagining Jack's face when he came home and saw the plate of cake she had made. Her heart suddenly filled with warm, simple, yet sweet anticipation. While waiting for Jack to come home from work, Tu Tien felt her back starting to ache after a morning of cleaning and cooking. She gently turned over, lying on her side on the chair, intending to just lie down and rest for a while to relieve her fatigue. But Tu Tien had already fallen asleep without realizing it. When Jack came home from work and opened the door, he stopped when he saw Tu Tien sleeping soundly on the chair in the living room. Afraid of waking her up, Jack carefully closed the door, slowly approaching without making any noise. He sat down next to her, his gentle eyes stopping at her face. Tu Tien looked so gentle and cute when she slept. A moment of warmth crept into his heart. Jack leaned down, gently kissed her forehead, as if wanting to convey all his love and tenderness in that kiss. Suddenly, her eyelashes moved slightly. Tu Tien slowly opened her eyes. The dreamy look at first quickly became clear when she saw Jack sitting right next to her, his eyes gently looking at her. Tu Tien immediately sat up, blinked a few times, then chuckled softly, her voice still mixed with a bit of sleepiness. "I waited for you to come home and fell asleep." Then she continued to brag that today she had made cake herself at home, waiting for you to come home so that the two of us could eat together. Then Tu Tien told Jack to put away his things and go to the kitchen where she would prepare cake for him to eat. Hearing her say that, Jack smiled gently, his heart filled with an indescribable warmth. The small room suddenly became warmer than ever with the fragrant smell of cake, Tu Tien's laughter, and the simple happiness spreading between the two of them. Tu Tien happily stood up and went straight to the kitchen, where the scent of cakes still lingered in the air. She took a pair of small scissors, carefully cut each golden cake into bite-sized pieces, and arranged them neatly on a white porcelain plate. Each slice of cake revealed the meat and taro filling inside, emitting a rich, fragrant aroma that made her smile with satisfaction. When she was done, she placed the plate of cakes on the table, waiting for Jack to eat with her. A moment later, Jack walked into the kitchen, and upon seeing the plate of cakes, his eyes immediately widened in praise. He rolled up his sleeves, opened the cupboard to get some spices, and personally mixed a bowl of dipping sauce, adding a little lemon, garlic, and chili, stirring gently to blend. "It must have a dipping sauce to be delicious," he said with a warm smile. The heat from the cakes still rose up, mixed with the gentle aroma of the dipping sauce, making the small space cozy and filled with happiness. The two of them sat down at the table, the warm atmosphere spread in the small kitchen. Jack picked up the first piece of cake, blew lightly, and brought it to his mouth. After taking a bite, the rich flavor of taro mixed with the sweet aroma of meat made his eyes widen in surprise. He chewed slowly, savored it carefully, then smiled at Tu Tien, his voice full of delight. "It's delicious. You really have a talent for making cakes. Even though you lost your memory, your cooking skills have not been lost at all." Then Jack picked up another piece and fed it to Tu Tien. Tu Tien laughed, her cheeks slightly blushing. She bent down, pretending to be busy picking up another piece of cake to hide her shyness. But inside, she felt strangely warm and happy. After sitting down to eat for a while, Tu Tien stood up and said she would go prepare some cakes to bring to the farm for everyone to eat. Then she took out a basket, carefully cut each piece of cake, and neatly arranged it in the basket. Jack finished eating, stood up, cleaned the dishes, and waited for Tu Tien to prepare the cakes to bring to the farm. She cut half of the cake to take away, and left the other half for Jack's mother. Tu Tien carefully covered the cake with a basket to give Jack's mother the portion. Then the two happily took the cakes and went to the farm. In a small shop, the evil mother-in-law of Tu Tien sat in contemplation, her face showing clear signs of calculation. Opposite her, Tu Tien's ex-husband, with a cunning face and furtive eyes, was whispering about what he heard when he sneaked into Jack's farm. His voice was hoarse. "Tu Tien is pregnant." She seemed to not believe what her son said, so he immediately affirmed that she had heard the two of them talking to each other with her own ears. She immediately showed her attitude that Tu Tien had been in her house for so many years. How could she be pregnant? And now she had only been living with Jack for a while and was already pregnant. She raised her eyebrows slightly, her lips curling into a cold smile. After a moment of silence, the two evil people began to discuss, their voices gradually getting lower but full of schemes. Tu Tien's mother-in-law leaned over slightly, whispering vicious words into her son's ear, outlining a plan to harm Jack and Tu Tien, how to get money from Jack without anyone suspecting. In that gloomy house, the calculation and greed were gradually turning into a dark conspiracy. When he heard his mother's plan, He immediately stood up to go to Jack's farm to spy on the situation as his mother told him to. On the dirt road leading to the farm, in the middle of the lush green forest, Tu Tien's ex-husband walked stealthily, his eyes searching. He was following his cruel mother-in-law's instructions to enter the farm to hear news of Jack and Tu Tien. But while he was still groping deeper, he suddenly caught sight of Jack and Tu Tien coming from inside. When the three of them unexpectedly met each other on the red dirt road leading to the farm, Tu Tien and Jack stopped. He tried to force a forced smile, pretending to greet each other as if they were passing by chance. The atmosphere between the three became tense. While Jack calmly asked the reason for his appearance, the ex-husband was in turmoil, both afraid of being exposed and trying to find a way to hide his true purpose. He immediately called Tu Tien's name. She looked at the strange man standing in front of her with a surprised look, trying to search through her vague memories, but was completely empty. "Is this Jack your friend? How does he know me?" she asked softly, her voice still hesitant. Her ex-husband was stunned. His eyes widened in surprise. He couldn't believe that Tu Tien didn't recognize him. Jack immediately realized something was wrong. He gently held Tu Tien's hand and calmly said, "You go into the farm first. It's about to rain. I'll talk to him for a bit." Tu Tien obediently nodded, hugged the plastic basket and turned to leave. When she passed by, he immediately held her hand and stopped her. Tu Tien was startled and didn't understand what was going on. Jack immediately said, "Let her go. I'll talk to you." Jack clenched his fists, his eyes full of vigilance. The atmosphere in the farm became as tense as a bowstring. Jack and Tu Tien's ex-husband stood facing each other in the middle of the path covered with green leaves. Their eyes met. One side was calm and determined. The other side was jealous and challenging. Jack asked coldly, "What do you want here?" The old man slightly raised his lips, his gaze sly. "I came to make it clear to you that Tu Tien is my wife. I will take her back. You have no right to be with her." Jack slightly narrowed his eyes. A sarcastic smile appeared at the corner of his lips. He took a step forward, his voice lowered, decisive. "Tu Tien is no longer yours. She has a new life and I will protect her to the end. I warn you not to play tricks. Tu Tien and I are about to get married." Hearing that, the old husband was stunned. His face paled slightly, but then he suppressed his anger, gritted his teeth and said each word. "You will regret it." After saying that, he angrily left. Jack stood still, his cold eyes following his every step as he left, knowing that this was just the beginning of a big trouble ahead. He understood that his appearance was not a coincidence, and his intuition told him that something dark was about to happen.